Lime is the main product that we apply to the lawn to raise the pH value of our soil. When the pH is low, that's when we consider our soil to be acidic. And if it gets too acidic, then our grass, our lawn isn't going to grow very well. Acidic soil makes it difficult for the lawn to uptake and use many nutrients, and it leaves the lawn struggling to thicken up, spread, grow fast, or deepen up in color. In many cases of acidic lawn soil, you'll see greater pest and disease pressure. You'll see thin lawn spaces with bare dirt showing between the grass blades, or you'll see patches of yellowish or lime green looking grass. Lawns growing in acidic soil will rarely look thick and dark green, no matter how heavily you fertilize them or water them. But just because you see these symptoms in your lawn, it doesn't mean that you actually need lime. If your lawn has an unusually high pH, then that could also be the reason for your lawn's problems. And if you apply lime to a lawn with already high pH, then you actually make the problem worse. If your lawn already has an optimal pH, then these same symptoms could also be caused by nutrient deficiencies in the soil, active disease, or even overly compacted soil. Lime could make the problem worse here too. The absolute best way to know if your lawn needs lime is to check the pH of the soil. And for that, you have two good ways to do it and two alternative ways that just aren't quite as good. One of the two good ways to do this is to do a soil test. I've done them many times over the years, and in almost all cases, I did them for the purpose of monitoring pH. Those tests will give you extra information about your soil, but the pH reading, in my opinion, is the most important one. But the problem is that each one of those tests can run you between $25 and $50, depending on the quality of the test and whether or not it's on sale. So an alternative is to buy a reusable probe tester that you can use whenever you want to check pH levels without having to send anything into a lab. There are lots of cheap versions of these that aren't very accurate. So if you go this route, I'd recommend buying the expensive version. The expensive version is much more durable, easy to use, and it's way more accurate. So the GS2 pen tester from Apra Instruments, which are not a sponsor by the way, this is the gold standard for the home gardener or the home lawn care enthusiast. You're going to pay a good solid chunk of cash for this thing, but it beats paying for soil test kits over and over and over throughout the years. You certainly could buy a cheaper probe tester. There's lots of them out there. But if you don't want to spend the money on the good one, then I recommend skipping the whole thing completely and using one of the following two low-cost options that I'm going to cover next. Now, as for the cheaper and less good options, you could do your own DIY soil pH test. It uses household ingredients. You probably already have them. A while back, I already made an entire video about how this process is done. I'm going to link to that video down in the description below. This DIY option is cheap and it's easy enough to do, and you're going to get a result in 10 to 15 minutes, but it is very easy to mess up, giving you a reading that's completely not accurate. You're literally going to have to practice doing this to have any sort of accuracy. Also, even when it's accurate, it's nearly impossible to track small differences in pH, both up and down. You just can't see the difference between a pH of 5 and 5.3. So you're not going to be able to track your progress as you amend soil with lime or sulfur. You can see the difference between 8 and 5 plain as day though, so it is useful in letting you know whether you actually need lime on the lawn or not. It's just not good for tracking your progress throughout the seasons. Now the fourth option is to use the Rapid Test pH test kits. These things are really cheap and they're very easily found in hardware stores pretty much everywhere. I think I've even seen these things sold in my grocery store at some point in the past. These are kind of like pool or water test kits. You placed little paper test strips into a slurry of soil and water, and you get a color on the strip that you have to match up with the pH scale color scheme that they give you on the packaging to get a general idea of where your pH stands. Again, it's hard to get a truly accurate reading with these, and matching the color correctly is also a bit hard to do when all the colors look so similar. It's not uncommon for two people to look at the same color and come to different conclusions. I do have a video explaining how this option works. I've done it myself. In that video, I demonstrated the entire process out in my own yard, but it's just not as reliable. Ever since I made that video, I've always second-guessed the results I got, so I guess I don't really trust the accuracy of that rapid test kit all that much. But again, it's plain as day easy to tell the difference between an 8 pH and a 5 pH, so it will tell you if your lawn needs lime. Linked in the description below, you can see a blog post where I compare multiple soil test kits that you could buy, or you could take a look at the test kit that I use these days, RX Soil. RX Soil is a bit pricier for soil testing, but not only do they give you pH readings, which is what I've been talking to you about in this video, they also give you your organic matter percentage and your soil's CEC. That's a measure of its ability to retain nutrients. It stands for cation exchange capacity. Most of those cheaper tests are not going to provide those values. As those values drop, you know that aerating and amending your soil becomes more and more important once you get your pH value in line. For instance, if you have a higher organic matter percentage or a higher CEC, then you know you're not going to have to water or fertilize nearly as much throughout the course of the season, so long as your pH is in line. That's nice to know. General theory is that for lawns, the optimal pH range is between 6 and 7. 6.5 would be just about as perfect as it gets. Anything below 6, lime becomes an option. Anything way below 6, and lime becomes necessary. If you found your soil pH to be closer to 5 or even lower than that, then liming your lawn would almost be required to have a great looking lawn. Nothing else would be more important than getting lime on the lawn. I have a full video about how to raise the pH in your lawn soil using lime, and also how, within that video, how to choose the best kind of lime to put on your lawn. There's a bunch of different types. So if you think you need to apply lime to your soil, make sure to watch that video next.